Hello, friends, and welcome to Pathologic Volume 8, Episode 6, where today we are diving back into the realm of video games, sort of. No, this is not an episode where we are going through Cypher Zero, though I am curious if you've been watching those and if you've been enjoying them. But today we are going to be doing a pencil puzzle adaptation of the video game Candy Crush. This was invented for the World Puzzle Championships some years ago, and this promises to be a more accessible version of that puzzle. So let's figure out how they managed to pull this off as we take a look at the rules. In Candy Crush, we will place a letter from A to D in each empty white cell, such that there are never 3 consecutive cells in a horizontal or vertical line containing the same letter. So looking at our example solution, we have 2 D's in a row, but the third cell is not a D. We never have 3 D's in a row, horizontally or vertically. That's true for all of the letters. And in the final solution, it must be possible to directly eliminate any letter using any one single swap of 2 letters sharing a side, not considering gravity and chains. We'll come back to that in a second. Letters are eliminated if they become part of 3 or more horizontally or vertically consecutive cells containing the same letter. So just like in a match 3 game, Candy Crush, Bejeweled, etc., Marvel Puzzle Quest, which was my addiction for, up until very recently, whenever we have 3 in a row, those get removed from the board. So we simulate that by saying if this A and C were to switch places, then we'd have 3 A's in a row and those would get eliminated. If we have this C and A switch places, we'd have 3 C's in a row and those would get eliminated. We could also, note that the letter being eliminated does not have to be the one getting swapped. There just needs to be some way to eliminate it. And this not considering gravity and chains is just for people who have played those games. They may expect some kinds of chain reactions. We're not considering any of those in this puzzle, just direct swaps, so the orientation doesn't matter, for example. And finally, clues outside the grid indicate the number of different letters in the corresponding row or column. That will help make the solution a unique one. Those are the rules of Candy Crush, so it's time to solve a puzzle. Today's Candy Crush puzzle was set by Freddie Hand. We have some pairs. We've got, at least the one pair. This pair of C's tells me that we can eliminate those. We're not going to have a C here, and we're going to eliminate this probably by swapping maybe a C down from here, or down from here, or over from there. Not sure how useful that is yet. I think the 2 in this column is going to be pretty darn restrictive. This D is probably, and this A. Okay, these are very restricted. Let's start with the A over here. How is this one going to be eliminated? It can't be eliminated by staying where it is, because if it were, then something would need to be swapped into place to make this a row of 3, or this a row of 3. This can't be a row of 3 because it's got the black square in it. And this would require 2 swaps to work. So this will become a row of 3 by swapping horizontally. And the only way that's going to work is if we already have 2 A's that would meet up with that, and we can only do that right here and right there. Note for home solvers, we do need to be using uppercase letters for the answer checker. Okay, so I can mark these, and I'm going to use a color to mark these as already eliminated. How about a nice purple? So these are all safe cells. They could be involved in other eliminations potentially, but we don't have to worry about them now. So going back to this B, how is this going to get eliminated? Because we've placed these A's, it can't be eliminated by swapping down, or we can't form a vertical elimination here. So it, like the A, is going to have to swap horizontally in order to... No, is that true? Won't necessarily have to swap horizontally, but it's not going to be in a vertical row. So if it swapped horizontally, actually, there's no way for that to work, because it's much like the A over here. That we're not going to be able to do a vertical because of this black square, and horizontally we'd have this D in the way. So it will be swapping vertically, but meet up with B's over here. That's forced. And I'll go ahead and mark those as resolved by the swap. Let's keep on going across. This C, what are we going to do here? Swapping down is going to be useless. Swapping left is going to be useless, because we know about all the cells in those areas. So it will swap east and meet up with two others, which are going to have to be over here in order for that to work. And we can mark all of those as resolved. The D has two options. It could swap east and have two D's below it. It could swap south and have two D's to the east. But because of all these other fixed ones, it can't do anything to the west, and there are no other options if it goes east or south. So either of those two could be the truth, but both of them result in a D being in that spot. There's probably more we can do there. I'm sure there's more we can do there, but I want to pause for a moment and do something else that I've seen, which is to use this to clue now that we know both of the letters. These are all B's and A's in this column. And this cell, because we can't already have 3 in a row, once we're done placing all the letters, we can only eliminate things via swaps. So if we put another A here, it would be immediately eliminated. That's not allowed. So it's got to not be an A, which makes it a B. But we don't know yet these two, whether they're B's or A's. But we do know also that this is not a B. We don't know what it is yet, but once we start factoring in this 3, that's probably going to become more obvious. So that just jumped out at me as a thing we could use. So likely one of these two is going to be a B to swap down here and eliminate these 3. But they might do, I suppose there's possible they might do other things. I'm not sure that I've not thought about it long enough to know that for sure. Let's see. This C we can probably do something with. Swapping north is obviously no good. And it can't swap south or west because those aren't letters, so it will swap to the east and join two other C's. Where will they be? They're not to the east. It can't ever be swapping into the middle like that, because then this would already be a C. That would already be eliminated. So it's got to be a vertical line. It's got to be these two. So we can say with certainty that those are accounted for there. That didn't tell us which way the D goes yet. I kind of expected it to. Probably does what we need. Well, this C is... That's interesting. Both of these C's are accounted for by this one, which we placed this to handle this C, but by virtue of it being there, it also takes care of these two. So we can mark these two as accounted for. The D in this spot looks like a big problem, though, which makes me wonder if I messed something up. So, I'm sure I did mess something up now that I'm thinking about this. So I'm considering a rewind. Yes, I see what I did wrong. Okay, I'm going to unwind to this point. I asserted that this C needed to swap east to meet up with two other C's, but that's not the case. This C could potentially get eliminated by virtue of something else swapping. That's the case I didn't account for. And the reason I realized that was a problem is because this D in the corner became a problem. This one, we can't swap anything into anywhere else to eliminate the D. The D, in this case, the D does have to be the swapper. It needs to swap over here, and it needs to meet two other Ds. There's no other way around that one. But in this case, we could swap something into place to make this a 3 in a row where it already stands. So back to our colors. We've accounted for these 3. This one can swap down and meet those 2. So that's actually accounted for. This is still not. And it will have to swap south, because if it swapped east to do its dirty work, that would place a D there, which is illegal by the initial placement rules. So the D swaps south to meet a D there. And that's done. So what is this C going to do? We need to form a horizontal row by swapping something. And that can't come from, well, this is already there. That can't come from here. So this is going to have to be a C already. And this will need to become a C from down here. So those are accounted for. What can we put here? Can't be a C. It is too far from other B's or A's to be either of those. So it is a D, and we can see that we can eliminate it by swapping these 2. All right. Now moving around to here. Well, first off, a little observation. We've got our 3 in this row that we talked about before. The 3 are B, C, and D. So this is C or D. I don't think I can use that yet, but it's true. Just like these 2 are A's or B's. But this A, I think we can deal with. There's no other A's in this column or near it in this row, so A will need to be the swapper. It needs to swap north because swapping west, there's not enough room to make 3 in a row, so it swaps north and meets 2 other A's, and those are accounted for. This cell can't be an A because we'd have 3 A's in a row, and it needs to be an A or B because of this clue. So this is a B, and we would have 3 B's in a row if this were a B, so this is an A. And we've finished up this column. Now these 2 C's will need to be eliminated. And how is that going to happen? There's no C's around, so we're going to have to add one that can be swapped into place. It's going to come from right there. And that takes care of the C's. This A is already taken care of because it can swap north and meet those. These B's are still unaccounted for. This B could swap south, perhaps, if that's a B. That's one possibility. This is, again, C or D. D is a problem. If D went here, then where is it going to meet 2 other D's? There's nothing in the vicinity. And there are 2 empty spots, but if we put D's in those, we'd already have 3 in a row. So this is not a D. And because of this clue, the only other possibility is a C. So now this can't be a C. Though that's not very useful by itself. We just know it's not a C. How can this get eliminated? Going south doesn't help. Going north doesn't help. So this is not the swapper. We've got to put a C here so we can swap this C up. That's the only possibility there. And those get eliminated. So now how does this B get eliminated? The only way is to swap this one upward, and that would put a B right there. And let's just double check, even though it told us we were right, swapping the B up there gives us these 3 eliminated, and swapping this B down gives us these 3 eliminated. And that is how you solve a Candy Crush.